Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to a new video. Hope you guys are doing well today. Now, this video is in reaction to the recent tank buffs announced by Blizzard. For those that don't know, there's been some quite major changes that were announced yesterday that's going to go live on the next reset. So them changes, as you can see on the screen currently, are aside from Vengeance Demon Hunter, which I'll talk about separately, every tank is receiving 10% less. It says plus 10%, but it means 10% less physical damage and 10% less magic damage as of the next patch, which means everyone's just going to be around 10. Every other tank bar Vengeance Demon Hunter is going to be around 10% tankier. Now, this is a huge change. I think tanks have been in quite a weak spot during this expansion, and there's been a lot of kiting and things regarding that, which, while it's a bit of a kind of abstract thing, the fact that tanks have to kite so much mean that certain DPS have also been out of favour. Things like Elemental Chamois, who rely so heavily on tanks standing still, were weaker because they weren't able to actually get that 5-6 second period of a tank standing still in a massively buffed Earthquake. So it's quite an interesting thing that Blizzard have decided to do this. And what's this regarding? Why have they done it now? Now, they do say in the article the reason they've done it now is because they've had to fix the Vengeance Demon Hunter bug. Now, just to explain what the bug was, the Vengeance Demon Hunter was having their magical ward buff that reduces the damage they take by magical damage, having it affected twice. This effectively gave them like 10 to 15% reduced damage on every other tank for magic. Now, while they weren't the best physical tanks in the world, they were already the best tanks for Mythic Plus by a mile. And we can see this. I can show you this here. There we go. So this is the Mythic Plus representation for all tanks currently, level 15 and higher. You have Blood DK, so you have Prot Warrior Blood DK being the lowest two tanks, being around 6.4 and 10.4%. You then have kind of this middle ground of Guardian Druids, Brewmasters, and Protection Pallies. Then you have Vengeance Demon Hunter, which is over double the second highest tank, being Protection Pallies. Now, this buff, I believe, was actually a buff for Vengeance Demon Hunter. Now, hear me out before people start shouting. Vengeance Demon Hunter was one of those tanks that you could only tank while in Metamorphosis. Outside of Metamorphosis, you were incredibly, incredibly weak. What this has allowed you to do is you are going to be slightly more susceptible to magic damage, but still probably better than every other tank in the game. You are going to be slightly less squishy outside of meta because you will have that physical damage reduction, and you'll be even more tankier in meta. I don't think this is a bad thing for Vengeance Demon Hunter. I think it's just brought the other tanks a little bit up to speed. But this isn't an equal buff. Despite the fact it looks like an equal buff for everyone, it's not. And the reason for that is a Guardian Druid didn't have issues with physical damage. Ultimately, it just didn't. It was very, very tanky and was able to survive physical damage, no problems at all. Magic damage was a little bit of an issue. It was something that it's appreciated. We had no real defense outside of just being able to take the hit for magic. Or bark skin, I guess. But that's about it, really, for magical damage. So it's a really nice change in terms of magic, but not physical. Blood DKs are interesting because they peter off at a point when they could be one-shot. Up to the point of them being one-shot, Blood DKs can almost entirely look after themselves. As soon as they get to a point or a difficulty where Blood DKs can be one-shot, they become much weaker, for the obvious reason. Well, this change allows that point to just be ever so slightly higher. And it's not going to fix all their issues. They're still going to get one-shot at a certain point. They are still the most yo-yo-y tank in the game. But ultimately, they are going to be better than they were. And I think Blood DKs are going to be very successful survivors of this sort. I say survivors. Beneficiaries of this buff. We're then going to talk about Brewmaster. Now, Brewmaster, again, a lot of the damage goes into stagger. You're just going to have less stagger, ultimately. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We're not going to complain about that. Brewmasters, they're going to be quite successful from this. They had no real massive defense against magic damage reduction. Ultimately, this is going to make a big difference. You then have Protection Warrior. Now, Protection Warrior, a lot of the damage from Protection Warrior was already blocked, which means you were mitigating a lot of the physical damage anyway. All this does is allows that short periods of time when you aren't mitigating and you aren't able to have a shield blocker up or able to have a defensive up, you're not going to be one-shot quite so quick. You're still going to be very swishy during the periods, though, of downtime in active mitigation. So, and Protection Pallies. Protection Pallies are the one I want to talk about mainly. And as you can see in the background, the footage in the background is actually me gearing my Protection Pally. And the reason for this is, I think Protection Pallies are about to become the new Mythic Plus meta. I think they are very strong. They have a lot of damage. They have an insane amount of interrupts. They have assist in healing. They offer a lot to a group. The only thing they do not offer to a group that Demon Hunter does, and it's the same thing with the DK, is an AoE grip. That is something that will be sorely missed. Their ability to kite is incredible. Honestly, I've been trying it today, and I'm going to be releasing a few videos around the Protection Pally over the next couple of days. Things like the Warrior and the Druid aren't gone. They're just like, I'm trying to get all the tanks geared. I want to eventually go for Keystone Master on all the tanks. But the Prot Pally is able to kite like no one's business. A Monk is good at kiting because it can just outrange things and use its own CC, things like Ring of Peace and that to slow things down. A Pally just walks away and puts Consecrate down. That's how strong it is, and it's really, really good. It can keep aggro with Blessed Hammer and Avenger's Shield. I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's so strong at the moment. I've had very, very little issues where I've just not had a defensive for something. They're very good at dealing with every single affix in the game. I genuinely think they could be the next MDI Mythic Plus high key tank, and we've already seen that they had a good representation in higher keys. I mean, 3 times as much as a Prot Warrior, almost twice as much as Blood DKs. They had good representation, and I'm interested to see where Vengeance Demon Hunter sits in all this now. I still think they are going to be the best MDI tank, the world rank 1 MDI tanks. I think it will still be Vengeance Demon Hunter. If anything, I think this is going to make them slightly stronger, which is crazy. But I think Prot Pally is going to be right there with it. I think it does a lot of damage. I think it does Vengeance Demon Hunter levels of damage. And I think it offers other things to the group that Vengeance Demon Hunter doesn't quite bring. So yeah, I just wanted to talk through and just talk you through the buffs, what it means for each of the tanks. Ultimately, the big winners here are going to be the Blood DK. I think Vengeance Demon Hunter could be quite happy with how this turned out anyway. They could have just removed the buff entirely, or fixed the bug, I should say. And they would have been 15% weaker to all magic damage and probably just too squishy to certain mechanics. But yeah, I think this is a good victory for every tank. I think this is going to make tanks feel like they're in an amazing spot. And I'm really looking forward to what this means for each of the classes. Maybe we see a little bit more balanced representation. I mean, it's a balanced buff in theory, so all of them should rise by the same power level, but it won't happen like that, obviously. So guys, I'm going to leave this here and just kind of a short, brief explanation of what was going on with the tank buffs. What this means for me is I'm going to be playing my Pally a little bit more, trying to get a little bit of gear, and just see how it compares to the Warrior. Just TLDR, they are very fun, offer a lot of group utility. They have a little bit more carry potential in that they don't need so much healing, and they can offer off healing, but the damage is significantly less. I have noticed that. I'm not pulling 4.5, 5k DPS on my Prot. I haven't got the DPS Prot tank legendary. I've got the tanky one. Maybe that would have helped. Maybe Venthir would have helped. Who knows? But at the moment, I'm finding that some big pulls, final stand is incredible, and Prot Pally is definitely quite interesting. So guys, if you've got any future questions or anything like that around tanking or anything in general, please leave them down below. The channel's growing massively, and I keep saying it, but I am genuinely really appreciative. Thank you for watching. There'll be more content coming this weekend, so definitely if you're interested, subscribe for that. Any questions, you know where to leave them. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Goodbye.